All right, everybody, we are back. It is the Gunsmith Show here on March 22nd. It's spring now here in Michigan, and with spring springing,
spring has sprung, almost.
Time for our first guest of the spring. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Derek, are you on the line?
I am, John.
Hi, Derek. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well this morning, and thank you both for having me on the Gunsmith Show this morning.
Glad to have you, buddy. Now, Derek, I'm going to let Jake handle most of this. He did his pre-interview with you yesterday on online and everything. So let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, thanks for being on, Derek. First of all, and I know you want to basically talk about bullets and how they're made in a way, but you want to introduce your Michigan machine shop and why it was set up specifically to machine these ammo components.
Absolutely. You know, Jake, like we discussed yesterday, my family's been involved in the high-volume machining industry since the late 1950s.
Yeah.
And we traditionally do, various industrial work, automotive, things like that. And we're based in New England. But 3 years ago, I was privy to some knowledge about a lot of very interesting and exciting changes in the ammunition industry that were taking place. And we decided to build a factory here in Michigan just 3 years ago to address this need. And we spent about 2 years actually getting the shop ready. And pretty much this month, we've been open for a year, and it's been a real interesting adventure for us, I tell you.
Wow.
Awesome.
That's the transformation from automotive to making ammunition or manufacturing bullets, projectiles. That is what a change. I mean, it's not like it's a war effort, but maybe it kind of is.
Well, yeah, it's also a transformation from what I would call working to fun. It's a real nice industry to be involved with, as you know from the people in it.
Yes. Well, you just recently went to the SHOT Show too, didn't you?
Oh, I sure did, and I tell you that was a real revelation because, the American industry has been producing great ammunition for long before you and I were born.
Oh, sure.
And the neat thing is that there have been so many engineering changes in the last few years, and these things are starting to make their way to consumers now. The military usually has first dibs on the newest technology and the best technology out there.
Sure.
But starting this year, we're starting to see some of that get down to the stores. And it's really exciting. One of the specific changes that I'm talking about is that the change from a typical leaded press-made bullet, the way they've been done since before World War I, to the new machine bullets that are starting to creep up into the stores.
Well, we're seeing them. We're seeing them in boxes of 20, and they have quite a price tag on them, too. You pay more per round, but you're getting a lot more out of it, too.
Well, that is true. If you look at what lead costs, lead today is about $1 a pound. Copper is about $5 a pound.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt that, the same grain weight bullet's going to cost more in copper. But there's good reasons for it, and like most things in life, you do get what you pay for.
Oh, that's for sure. So as far as your proprietary stuff you're doing, tell us a little bit about that. Why is it? What makes it different?
Well, there are some significant differences, and keep in mind, just because copper ammunition has specific, unique advantages in certain areas, they're not making leaded ammunition obsolete. Leaded ammunition is always going to be the most prevalent out there. It's very inexpensive, and let's face it, 99.99% of bullets are shot at the range. They're shot for fun.
Yeah,
and if you're going to go to the range and shoot 300 or 400 bullets in an afternoon, you want to do it economically. So lead's always going to be out there.
Yeah.
But the specific advantages of machined copper bullets, there's several of them. Regular bullets are made on a press. When you actually turn them on a lathe, what you get is much better concentricity. In other words, it's just simply rounder. And you get mirror-like surface finishes on the outer diameters of the projectile, which just makes it fly with less interruption much, much better. And, also when you're talking about a solid copper projectile, whatever target you're hitting it with 100% of the mass of the bullet. Whereas every leaded round loses a little bit of that mass.
Certainly
during
does.
Flight.
Yeah. It loses it during flight, and then as it comes apart, as I know as a hunter, seeing what happens to the bullets after they hit, and you can only find parts of the bullets because the lead is splintered off and gone somewhere. I'm sure you get a little bit of that with the copper as well, but you're not going to lose that mass. I would think it's going to stick together better.
It really makes a heck of a difference, and truth be told, it makes it much more accurate too, although that accuracy difference is really prominent in rifle rounds when you're hunting at ranges. If your ranges are 200 yards and over, or even at 100 yards, a copper round is going to be much more accurate.
Sure.
Now, truthfully, with handgun rounds, let's face it, nobody's shooting 100 yards with those.
Well, you never know. It depends on the mood, Derek. It depends on the mood. I've been known to plink, you know what I mean? And
exactly. Well,
we've had a lot of fun doing that. At 100 yards, seeing what we can do with our snub-nose revolvers. And Jacob has said numerous times to me, how did you do that?
Yep.
but it takes practice.
Well, one of the rounds that I'm going to discuss with you in a few minutes is very interesting in that particular point because it's actually such a good civilian round that last year it was tested by SOCOM, and those are the guys that approve all the gear and kit used by our special forces.
Yes.
And just for kicks, they found this round to be so accurate that they actually put the pistol in a jig with a 4-inch barrel, and they measured the accuracy out at 125 yards, and it held 2-inch groupings.
No way. That's amazing.
Now, I know my hands aren't going to do that, but it's nice to know that the bullets can.
That makes me nervous just thinking about trying to be that accurate. If we were talking about, the AR, it'd be different, but no, not with a handgun. That's amazing. Well, and I'll be honest with you folks, everybody listening, I have dabbled a little bit in this ammo we're talking about. So tell us a little bit about where your bullets are going.
Exactly. Well, we're a job shop, so we work for a number of people in the ammunition industry. And the reason I haven't specifically said the name of our company is because we don't sell to consumers, we don't sell to stores, we only sell to the ammunition manufacturers themselves.
Right.
So obviously we know most people in the industry, and we've got half a dozen of them that we work with. But today I'd like to talk about one of my customers in particular. It's a company based in Florida called Liberty Ammunition.
Liberty Ammo. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll tell you one of the advantages that Liberty Ammo has had in bringing this new ammunition to the consumer. If you really think about it, put yourself in the place of an ammunition manufacturer. If you've got a factory with 1,300 people in it, and your machines were paid for during World War II, and you've got that type of overhead and that type of capabilities in-house, whenever you come up with something new or think of changing something, you want to do it on your own equipment in your own way.
Sure.
And what's that? It's worked for an awful long time, so there's not necessarily anything wrong with that.
No, I can understand that.
But, the founder of Liberty Ammunition is a pretty creative gentleman named P.J. Marks. And P.J. happens to have more patents for small caliber ammunition, not only than anyone else, but more than everyone else combined in the last 10 years.
Wow.
So he's really, really innovative, and there's a good reason for it. PJ didn't have an ammunition factory. He didn't have the overhead. He didn't have all those things already in place. So he took a step back with a new perspective and said, using modern technology, things that we can do here in 2010 and 2011 rather than 1910 and 1911.
Yes.
How can we just make the best ammunition possible without the restraints of having to use equipment that's already in place? And so he basically brought a new perspective to the ammunition industry. And it resulted in a completely different outlook and completely different performance. Now, because of that, his initial designs were really military-oriented. You see, the company itself, Liberty Ammunition, I find them to be one of my more interesting customers, because they were founded pretty much after, the terrorist attacks in New York.
Yeah.
And, they really, what they wanted to do specifically was provide our military with the best things out there. And to be honest with you, it worked. Last year, the U.S. military made 1 billion rounds with PJ's designs.
Wow.
You might have heard of the lead-free ammunition that the Army's been switching to.
Yes.
And it's all you hear in the news and on the media is lead-free. And I'll give you some inside scoop. The Army doesn't care whether it's lead-free or not. What they care about is performance.
Sure.
So
I would assume terminal performance is of the utmost, and working with the guns form and function. But what happened to the? And I had this question asked me earlier this week. What happened to the NATO rules about full metal jackets?
Well, I can't really comment on that because I'm just the machine shop guy making the parts. But
I'd be quiet about it too, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what the basic principle is. If you put yourself in, you and I, let's face it, we're older guys, but put ourselves in the positions of the U.S. servicemen and women that are overseas.
Yeah.
And chance being what it is, call it Murphy's Law, but you probably always don't have the right or the best rounds in your chamber at the time that you need it. You had the leaded bullets, which are great for soft targets, basically anti-personnel, and you had the steel bullets that were terrific for armor piercing. But like I said, if you're carrying two different types of bullets, chances are you probably have the wrong one in your chamber at the moment you need it.
Yep.
So what PJ did is he developed what is now known as the M855A1, which is a 5.56 caliber.
Yes.
And the M80A1, which is a 7.62 caliber. And what these are, they're lead-free munitions, but basically the projectile is a three-part projectile. What they have up front is a hardened steel tip for armor piercing. Right behind that, there is I would call it a copper slug, which becomes frangible upon impact. And all these three pieces are held together from behind by a copper jacket.
Wow.
So you've got two pieces of copper and a piece of steel, and because these things are machined, they're just incredibly accurate. So what the Army, basically the Army said it's the best thing they've ever tested, and now in the Army ammunition plants they're making his designs, and quite successfully for our troops overseas.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
that is
really,
awesome,
really good.
And that makes when it all boils down to it brings our boys home.
That's right.
So what more could you do? God bless you guys for doing what you do.
Yep.
That's amazing.
So that's really neat stuff, and that's the core of what Liberty Ammunition does. But let's face it, you and I can't buy that stuff.
No, that M855A1, that 223 round or 5.56 round, that one, I can't imagine. Because I've always been a big 62 grain green tip steel core penetrator shooter, and loved them. I loved the way they fly. I love the way they hit. They're accurate. They weren't very expensive. Weren't cost wise.
Mm-hmm.
How is this round cost wise to the government different than what you're making?
Well, this cost to the government. Well, obviously the government buys a lot, so they get good deals. But let's face it, honestly, the round is much more expensive than those ones they used to use because they're not leaded.
Right.
And there are environmental benefits and all that, and that's what you hear about in the media. So
sure.
Let's face it, that's great too, because you wouldn't believe the amount of lead that's in the ranges that the Army practices on.
Oh yeah.
When you, let's face it, even though they make 1 billion rounds a year at the Lake City ammunition plant, most of that's target shooting.
Yeah,
so you got to pick it up.
That's for sure. And even at our local ranges, they harvest the lead, once every year or two, and recycle it. And I'm part of the recycling program at the Genesee Sportsman's Club, and it's part of what we get. We recycle, we reuse, and we have a lead harvesting company that comes in and does it all, and I'm sure they do that. But with the lead, explain to me this: what is the weight difference between lead, because I know it's so dense, and copper with the bullets? I mean, are you able to make a lighter bullet?
Yes, and that's exactly it. And I think probably after your next commercial break, we can talk about how those lightweight bullets are really going to make our lives interesting for us pistol shooters.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to that talk. So, yeah, you hit it right on the head. It is time for our break. So, Derek, you can hang on, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, sir. Let's take a commercial break, and we'll be back in just a minute with the Gunsmith Show, speaking with Derek Perkins about Liberty Ammo Company. So hang on tight. We'll be right back.
Let's talk about a private matter, insuring your guns. Do you know that your home insurance has limitations when it comes to insuring guns? To get the most out of a policy, you need to schedule your guns and collectibles. Zach Goodhart is the Farm Bureau insurance agent who understands guns and how to insure them properly. Zach is an avid sportsman that respects the value of your gun collection and will work with you to make sure you are covered. Contact Zach Goodhart from Farm Bureau call at 810-391-2455. Zach is a board member of the local Safari Club International, a member of Pheasant Forever, and the NRA. Call Zach Goodhart today to protect your way of life at 810-391-2455.
I Can Build That. Say it with confidence because you listen every Saturday at 10 a.m. to the I Can Build That show. For nearly 5 years, we've been helping you around your house with remodeling, renovation, and repairs, along with money-saving hints, proper techniques, and rock-solid advice that only 30 years in the business can bring. So join Mary, Jacob, and myself, Jonathan Smith, for the I Can Build That show. 10 a.m. every Saturday right here on Flint's News Talk 1470. Proudly brought to you by Pal Alarm, Starline Kitchen and Bath Gallery, and Staley's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Who's watching your home? Who's watching your business? Pal Burglar Alarm can watch them for you. They have over 30 years' experience protecting homes and businesses in mid-Michigan. Pal Burglar Alarm provides 24-hour monitoring service through their UL-listed monitoring center based right here in Michigan. They also offer armed guard services and no long-term contracts. Besides burglary protection, they can also monitor for flooding, sump pump failure, CO2 detection, temperature sensors to prevent pipes from freezing, panic, fire, and driveway alarms. Pal Burglar Alarm, a price you can live with. Call them today at 810-908-8298. That's 810-908-8298 or palalarm.com.
And now back to the Gunsmith Show with John and Jake Smith.
If you'd like to talk to John or Jake, call now, 810-743-8255.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is the Gunsmith Show, Saturday, March 22nd, and we have a special guest on the line with us today. It's Derek Perkins, and Derek is a projectile manufacturer from Michigan, but we're discussing a specific...
You say projectile manufacturing. It's kind of interesting because not only does he manufacture bullets, but he also manufactures broadheads.
Yes, he does.
So he's a full season type of projectile manufacturer.
You're just a projectile guy, buddy. How are you?
Good.
You doing okay?
Yep, and I tell you, it is nice to get out there early in the season with the archery equipment. But when opening day comes around, it's nice to load up some good rounds in the 308 too.
Oh, I bet. I'm looking forward to getting out and shooting the rifles again. To be honest with you, I've been shooting the pistols and shooting the pistols and shooting the pistols. And my brother Dave says, that's all you do is shoot pistols, isn't it? And I said, well, this time of year, yes. I don't do a lot of indoor rifle shooting. So now, in our discussions, we were just kind of going through the weight difference between lead and copper. And so this, I know this all leads to speed because lighter, faster, and you can get more impact out of it. A lot of pros to going with the all copper. What... Performance-wise, what kind of differences are you seeing? I don't want to get real technical, but explain kind of in a I guess in an automotive town that we're here in Flint, Michigan. Although this is heard all over the world, here in Flint, Michigan, how would you describe the performance of your rounds with your projectiles in Liberty Ammo? With a standard, a standard military ball cartridge?
Well, it's when we're talking about these handgun rounds, John, it's these new ones from Liberty Ammunition are really changing the way we think about ammunition. As you know, if you get without getting too much into the physics of it, it's the ratio of the grain weight and the speed and the density of the material and everything else.
Right.
And I think your listeners will be really fascinated by the grain weights of these Liberty Ammo handgun rounds.
I kind of sat back in my seat and said, what?
That's what everyone says. Everyone says what. But the good news is they found the sweet spot. 9mm rounds are only 50 grains in size. The 40s are 60, and the 45s are 78. And people drop, they just can't believe that a 45 cal is 75 grains in weight.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the performance is absolutely amazing. The speeds are literally incredible. We're getting rifle speeds out of handguns. The 9s shoot at 2,000 feet per second, and in fact, they were tested by the NRA magazine, American Rifleman, and they found the 9 actually flew at 2,087 feet per second, which is incredible.
Wow. What were
twice as fast.
Do you know what they were using for a test gun?
They list it in their February edition.
Yes.
But I didn't write it down, so
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure.
I'll check it out and see what it was. Probably a Beretta or something. But
Yeah.
now, when and I got to tell you, I as soon as we started talking a few weeks ago, I went online and bought some of these from Midway, and I went to Midway USA, found Liberty Ammo, and lo and behold, because it's pretty new, it was available, and I snatched up as much as I could buy that night, and I've been having a ball with it. So I got to tell you, it is pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, it really is revolutionary. What that lighter grain weight does is two things. One is obviously it allows the projectile to travel faster, but some of the people that are loving it most are people like law enforcement. I mean, think about it. If you as a professional carry a pistol around with you
Right.
all the time at work, you want it to be lighter rather than heavier.
Well, in this show, you're exactly right. In this show, we discuss carrying concealed on a regular basis and the importance of being comfortable when you're carrying. That's why we deal with, we're testing holsters and everything all the time. Right now we're testing alien gear holsters, and I'm personally carrying a Bianchi right now. We're always, seeing what's the best way to carry. But what I found amazing was when I got this Liberty Ammo, and folks, this is not a infomercial. This is me talking. I'm John. I'm the guy that's here every week. I can't believe the weight difference in my 9mm. When I'm carrying a Glock, say I got 17 rounds on me.
Yep.
The difference in the weight of the magazine between the Liberty Ammo and the, honestly, Federal Hydroshocks I normally carry was tremendous. I was like, oh my gosh, this makes the gun lighter. And so, yes, it makes it feel a little different in the hand, makes it feel like you got a different gun on your hip.
It really does. It really does. And John, as you and I know, lighter is great, but it's not why you carry a gun. You carry it for performance. That's the only thing that
Exactly.
counts. So
Exactly.
What most people don't realize, and this will probably be new to a lot of the listeners, is we all talk about grain weights, we all talk about speeds, but neither of those two numbers really matter. Those two numbers are ingredients in really establishing the only number that counts. And the number that counts is foot-pounds of energy.
Oh, you know that.
How much energy are you translating into it? And that is where Liberty Ammo shines. They are known as having the fastest rounds on Earth.
Just like you said, though, they hit that sweet spot
They
where
really,
it all
really
works.
did.
It all works.
Well, they took their military technology and applied it to this. And one of the amazing thing is if you look at their 78 grain 45 cal ammo, a normal 45 cal ammo will have foot-pounds of energy of, maybe 450.
Yep.
If you pay big dollars for the really expensive stuff, that's like $35, $36 for a box of 20, and the heavy solid copper ones are up to 500 or 510. Well, this lightweight Liberty Ammo goes over 600 foot-pounds of energy. It delivers more energy on target than any other round on Earth.
That's amazing. And that's the one I haven't fired yet.
That's the fun one.
Last week we did 9s and 40s, and we're thoroughly impressed. And I got to tell you, from a guy that shoots every week, and I reload a ton. I shoot every single week. It was so clean. Whatever your combination is, you guys have got the recipe there that works. The performance was phenomenal. The recoil was manageable.
There was no smoke.
That's what I loved about it.
The guns were clean. And that was amazing.
Yeah, it was a breath of fresh air, I could say, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But it was a very clean experience. I really enjoyed it.
Did you notice, John, that the recoil is 16% less than regular ammunition? And that's why law enforcement love it. They stay on target.
I felt, especially with the 40, I was shooting just target rounds, and then I loaded what are they, 60 grain?
Yep.
60 grain, 40 cals. Beautiful round. Almost, for those of you who said I can describe a little bit, nickel cases, and it looks like a big silver tip.
Yep.
But when you look inside, you go, oh my, that's quite a turned projectile. But the sound was truly different.
It is louder.
The felt recoil, it is louder. The felt recoil, it had a
think it's louder, so people think you're shooting a 45. It's got 45 power.
I thought it sounded like a 44 Magnum, to be honest with you, but it had it's almost like I got to say the recoil felt. I felt it in my arms, but I was shooting real light target rounds in the 40. Then hit that, and you know 40s are a hot round if you want them to be. But when I do my own loadings, I don't make them so hot because I'm just shooting paper anyway. But when that round touched off, I went, "Oh my gosh, is that nice?"
We're on to something here.
Yeah, this is.
And in preparation for this, we looked up a video on Liberty Ammunition's website. Has a video of them shooting the 9mm into that ballistics gel.
Yes,
amazing. We posted it on our Facebook page. Anybody gets a chance, look at the video. It's pretty amazing what the ammo can do.
It really, you're totally correct. It really is, and you know, we all know it's one thing to listen to what a manufacturer says about their own products, but when you hear what the other people, the independent people, are saying about Liberty Ammunition, it's really amazing. The February edition of the NRA magazine, American Rifleman, they said that the 9mm had twice the effective range as standard loads.
I believe that. Yeah.
When they tested it at 2,087 feet per second. They said it generated 484 foot-pounds of energy. Now that means that this 9mm has about the knockdown power of a normal 45, and in fact that's exactly what the soldiers that tested it at SOCOM, because obviously 9 is a standard military round through all the NATO countries, and they said it's the first 9mm they've ever tested that knocks down like a 45 does.
Wow. And we're talking about handguns, though. There's 9mm rifles too.
Yeah,
this would be.
I just wonder what this would work out of an HK rifle or an MP5. It's got to be some pretty good performance, I would think.
Yeah, well, it is, but I'll tell you what, the military guys are buying a different thing from Liberty Ammo.
Yeah.
It's actually a 9mm round that goes through a Class 3 flak jacket and then opens up into, kind of splits itself into not technically a hollow point, but it is a hollow point once it comes apart on the other side.
So it's like the bunker buster of ammo.
Pretty much. You know, that's a good way of putting it.
The mother of all bullets, the Moab. All right. Well, that's pretty amazing. I know
Wow.
you guys, you probably have things that are classified that we can't even talk about, so I don't even want to go there.
Oh,
but
come on. You can spill your secrets with us.
Well, I tell you what's not a secret.
Nobody's listening, Derek. Don't worry. It's just us.
That's right. Nobody's listening, right? No, I tell you something that's really important, not a secret. One of the other benefits that we haven't talked about this ammunition is because it is indeed lighter in weight, it means we can use less copper in machining it, which makes it very inexpensive. These are probably the least expensive solid copper rounds on the market.
Yeah, I would can attest to that by the retail price.
Yes,
so,
and as you know, sometimes retailers discount and to get you to try a new thing. So now's a really exciting time to buy this stuff.
Yeah, it is. Well, I found mine on Midway. Are there other can you order it through Brownells or something, or?
Most distributors are starting to carry it, although, like I say, I'm the manufacturing guy. I don't work in sales.
Right.
But it is really, I know the factory is pretty much selling everything it makes every week, and those numbers are going up each week as we increase capacity. And, it's I think you'll find it in a lot of local retailers, too.
Good. Well, and right now, I still feel there is an ammo shortage right now. You and I had a good talk last Friday morning. We got a chance to do some volunteer work together, and we had a good chance to talk. You summed up the .22 long rifle shortage so well. And I hate to put you on the spot like this, but how you said, and because we discuss it all the time. People say, "Why can't I get any 22s?"
Oh yeah.
And you summed it up, and I hope you remember your words because I'm gonna call you to it here in just a moment. But you talked about supply and demand, and why there's a shortage. So I think our listeners, can you hang on if we go to commercial break and we'll come back to that? All right, Derek, thanks for being online with us. And folks, this is the Gunsmith Show, Saturday morning edition, like always, here on AM 1470 and AM 1530, and on www.wfnt.com. Hang on tight. We're going to be right back after the short commercial break with Derek Perkins. We're talking about Liberty Ammo.
He's going to tell you why you can't find 22s.
That's the most important thing. So hang on tight. We'll be right back.
Everyone knows Williams Gun Sight in Davison is the place to go for all your firearm, shooting accessories, hunting gear, and so much more. Plus, great gunsmiths in-house to take care of all your maintenance and customizing needs. But what you might not know, Williams has a great website, williamsgunsight.com. You can browse all their accessories, plus their huge selection of used guns. So definitely check out their website, williamsgunsight.com, and swing into the store, 7389 Lapeer Road, that's in Davison. Exit 143 off I-69. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 until 6, and Sunday, 10 until 5. Williams Gun Sight, on the range since 1926.
Attorney Tim Cassidy defends responsible gun owners. Do you need help with your CPL-related issues or have legal questions related to your gun rights? Attorney Tim Cassidy has over 15 years on the Genesee County Gun Board and many more years in practice. He can help you. Attorney Cassidy is also the professional who provides training to local groups and organizations on legal issues related to firearms and the use of force in self-defense. If you need an attorney who believes in the Second Amendment, you need Attorney Tim Cassidy at 810-569-5441. That's 810-569-5441 for responsible gun ownership legal help.
Who's watching your home? Who's watching your business? Pal Burglar Alarm can watch them for you. They have over 30 years' experience protecting homes and businesses in mid-Michigan. Pal Burglar Alarm provides 24-hour monitoring service through their UL-listed monitoring center based right here in Michigan. They also offer armed guard services and no long-term contracts. Besides burglary protection, they can also monitor for flooding, sump pump failure, CO2 detection, temperature sensors to prevent pipes from freezing, panic, fire, and driveway alarms. Pal Burglar Alarm, a price you can live with. Call them today at 810-908-8298. That's 810-908-8298 or palalarm.com.
And now back to the Gunsmith Show with John and Jake Smith.
All right. Now we are in studio live, of course, and we have a phone guest, Derek Perkins, online with us. And Derek, we've been having if you guys are just joining us, Derek's got a fabulous company that makes projectiles. And Derek, how's your phone holding up? Is your battery holding up okay?
Oh, it's good. You know, I actually anticipated and I plugged in the landline, but it took me 45 minutes to find a phone that goes into a landline this morning in my basement.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, because I was worried yesterday. We talked on cell, and I went, ooh, I hope we get a good connection on this.
I hear you.
Because we count on it. And it's fun to come in the studio, but it's harder on you. Once we get our vector and get set up like we did last week, we did a live broadcast last week from Beaky's in Flushing, and once we have that set up in our hands, I want to get one that works on a cell phone. I'm tired of this landline stuff, but you know what? And then something happens, and
We'll
next
have
thing you know,
solar flares.
Yeah, we are here by the grace of God together to talk on the radio today. So let's get into that serious discussion we brought up just before the break about 22 long rifle ammunition and why you think the shortage has occurred. And you showed the most knowledge I've heard on this. So let's hear what you have to say about that.
Well, we'd all like to buy more 22 ammo, including myself. It's kind of interesting. You know, I have two other customers of mine that make a lot of 22 ammunition. One of them is a little company called Federal Premium, and the other one is Winchester. And so I asked the gentleman in the engineering team there when I was working with them on some other projects, why can't I buy 22s? And, of course, they look at me and laugh and say, we can't buy them either. Yeah. And, you know, it's my friends at one of those companies said, you know, on the other side of this wall, they make 3 million 22s a day, and they won't let me buy any. And my friends at the other company, and I thought 3 million a day was a lot, they said, we make 7 million a day, and they won't let us buy any. So, you know, there's just two companies making 10 million 22 long rifles a day that can't keep up with demand. And if you really think about it, there's I learned there's two reasons for it, okay? One of them is the demand factor itself, and that is that there's a lot of really new, interesting products out there that are chambered for 22 long rifle. You know, I myself just bought a new rifle last week. I've always had an interest in the very first assault rifle ever made by the German Army in 1942, the Schmauser.
Yes.
And just last year, a German company bought all the tooling from that time, and they're literally making brand new Schmausers with the original tooling, except for the fact that it's chambered in 22 long rifle, so we can all afford to shoot it. And that's just one example of lots and lots of really neat guns that are out there.
It's really become a nifty thing to have these guns that are replica guns, but shoot the certainly more affordable and sometimes available 22 long rifle.
Yes, that's right. So the question comes in, why isn't it available? Well, so suddenly on the demand side, the market's probably up 30% for 22 long rifle in the last 4 years. So the question is, why have the manufacturers not increased output? Well, I can tell you, they are running their machines 24/7. So they're making everything they can.
Yeah.
But why don't they add more machines to it? And it's a factor of economics. So I learned something from my engineer friends at those two companies. The truth is, 22s are harder to make than the stuff that we sell a lot of, like 9s, 40s, and 45s. And you say, what? What's this about? The least expensive round out there is harder to make than the expensive stuff? And the truth is, rimfire is more expensive, or shall I say harder to make, than centerfire. If you look at your typical centerfire, you got the primer in the back, you got the powder, you got the case, you got the projectile, you got yourself a bullet, and it all goes together really fast.
All those components slide together.
That's right. But the benefit of a primer is that what's going to start the ignition, what's going to set the round off.
Right.
On rimfire, that bullet has to meet, or that ammo has to be made in such a way that it can impact anywhere around that case, 360 degrees around it, and it actually has to fire that bullet. So what the manufacturers have to do, they have to take those tiny little brass cases, they have to insert a probe into each one, and they have to spray an igniting powder around the outside of it, 360 degrees around. Then that has to exit, and then they put the regular powder in there.
Yeah.
So they've automated it, and it's fast, but it's not easy getting more equipment like this. And, the ammo guys, in years past, they tooled up extra capacity, and it never got used. So they're a little bit gun-shy, no pun intended, to, put tens of millions of dollars into new equipment. And they are starting to do that now, but this new equipment is all, it's not stuff you go to Walmart and buy. They got to build it themselves, and it takes a couple of years to bring on extra capacity.
Sure.
And the truth is, do you really want to spend tens of millions of dollars on new machinery so that you can make the smallest profit margin of any round out there?
Wow.
Personally, I wouldn't spend my millions of dollars on that. But
Yep.
So, when it all boils down to it, though, when we had this discussion last week, I had never heard it put that way. We'd heard, and Jacob, you'd called CCI, and you'd talked to several people discussing that they're at full production.
Well,
but the supply and demand is the issue. Everybody's trying to buy it right now.
Now, the one rumor, and I don't know, maybe you can tell us, you might not know it, you might. The one rumor was that the government bought, however billions of rounds of 22. Do you know if that's true or not, Derek?
I have never heard of the government using 22 for anything.
Right.
There's been those rumors, particularly on the internet, about the ammo shortage being caused by the government. The interesting thing is I've actually seen the government numbers, and they've actually purchased less ammo each year for the last 6 years. Every year in a row, they buy less and less and less, and the shortage gets worse and worse and worse. And it's us consumers that are buying it. It's really not the government. Most people don't understand exactly how the government purchasing system works. The government wants to get the best price, like everybody does. But because the government has such purchasing power, it really can. And the way a federal premium executive put it to me last year, he said, you got to realize, for example, they make the government 9mm rounds. The government will issue an order for literally 500 million rounds. But what's written into the government contract is that the government basically has the right to buy anywhere between 0 and 500 million rounds.
Oh.
And what most people don't realize is that they are serious about 0.
Yeah.
So basically, the government say, I might buy 500 million rounds for you. I will give you an order for 500 million rounds, but it doesn't mean I'm actually going to buy that many. And in truth, the government buys about 100 to 105 million 9mm a year.
So
which sounds like a lot, but it's not 500 million.
That kind of shows us how sometimes Lake City ammo comes on the market inexpensive, but because it was manufactured, but the allotments for the government weren't needed to be filled, so it comes onto the public market at a decent rate.
That it does. That it
Okay,
does.
because I know I've always wondered how how do you get like for instance right now by the front door at Williams there's a 35-gallon drum of 223s, and it's for sale for $2,700 or whatever. I don't remember the price because I wasn't really interested, but it has like 30,000 rounds in it, and I'm like, how do you get a hold of these things?
You could arm Granada with that amount of ammo.
But you see these in on lines and on auctions, and I'm thinking, how do you get ammo like that? But anyways, because I'm a sportsman guy. I'm not a big military buff, and I'm a sport shooter, and never have I ever had to use a gun in a military type situation. So I've been blessed that way, being a free American, and but I try to do my part here, just like you do. We all need to be good marksmen, and we need to be good Americans. And I think the days of having, I've got that pistol and one box of shells has changed to I have that pistol and I have 2,000 rounds of shells. I think
Yeah,
that's
you're right. That's quite common.
I think that's
and I think that's part of the reason we have the shortage of ammo is that you have all these people who have always had, grandpa's handgun, grandpa's shotgun.
yeah.
And all of a sudden,
you could go to Gilroy's and buy one box of 410s or one box of 22 shorts.
and all of a sudden people realize I need more ammo, so they'd go buy 1,000 rounds.
Yes.
And you've got 1 million people going to buy 1,000 rounds
Yep.
of ammo.
I'll take all you got on the
There's your
shelf. Thank you
shortage.
very much. So
That's right. We're completely doing it to ourselves.
yeah. Well, I'm guilty.
Well, something else we have to do to ourselves is that it is almost time.
Yeah, Derek, we certainly appreciate you sharing this time with us and giving us so much knowledge today. Thank you, sir, very, very much. And I hope
My pleasure.
I hope that our listening public has enjoyed having you on the show with us. You'll be able to hear some of this again on our Facebook page. No, on our
YouTube channel.
YouTube channel. And now, what's coming up next week, though?
Next week we have PJ Marks, Derek's friend, coming on talking about Liberty Ammunition some more.
And he's the actual owner, correct?
Yes, he is.
All right.
He's the owner and the designer, and once again, he's the guy with more small caliber patents than everyone else combined. So
Wow.
I'm excited to listen next week.
Well, we'll talk Mike Gaylord into not being around next week, so maybe we can just go 2 hours, and we'll go 2 hours and keep him on for 2 hours. But now he'll get tired of talking, I'm sure. But Derek, again, we certainly appreciate your time and efforts this morning, bringing this knowledge to the general public here on the Gunsmith Show. We will talk to you again this weekend, sir. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend, okay?
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure.
All right, Derek.
right.
We'll
Thanks,
talk to you
Derek.
soon. Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Now, on that note, folks, we do have to get out of here. Have a great weekend. God bless America, and be careful, gun owners out there, okay? Be responsible. I'm John.
I'm Jake.
Have a good weekend.